Dr. Barkha, please start the proceeding.
Dr. Barkha, kindly unmute yourself.
Hello? Hello?
All okay to start.
Please, sir.
Barkha, Dr.
Yeah,
Barkha.
can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everybody is sharing the screen now. Everybody can see on the screen. Good afternoon, one and all. While the world grapples with unprecedented epidemic of COVID-19, hello? While the world grapples with unprecedented scale of COVID-19 epidemic, which supposedly originated in China, our woes are not ending anywhere in the future. In fact, China was again in the news as thousands of people recently contracted brucellosis in northeast China owing to a leak from a biological pharmaceutical company which was manufacturing brucellosis vaccine. We all know brucellosis is not a new disease. The first brucelli was, in fact, discovered way back in 1886. Since then, it has remained one of the most common but often neglected zoonoses with worldwide distribution, a major economically important disease and a public health burden all over the world, especially in the low-income countries. The disease is endemic in India with estimated prevalence of around 13.5%, varying region-wise, with a transmission rate occurring endemically. Ours is a country which holds the maximum cattle, that is 70 and around 70 million households are engaged in milk production, catapulting our country to the foremost milk producing country in the world. And dairy products are the mainstay of the vegetarian diet regarding the protein intake. So, in this regard, brucellosis is very important. The disease is not an overt killer, but it cripples the economy, leaves the animal owner penniless. Be it sheep, goat, horse, dog, cat, pig, and cattle, all are it is a major public health burden. The cultural, religious, and historical importance is also a major hindrance to the control programs for the brucellosis. There is a further problem due to ban of slaughter to cattle and the free roaming. There is no restriction to any animal movement. There is predominance of informal market of raw milk, which adds to the public health risk. And in the absence of highly effective vaccines and the segregation and the slaughter policy of infected animals, the control of bovine hemolysis really remains a challenge. So, in the wake of this, and the renewed importance of brucellosis as an economic burden, the Society of Veterinary Internal and Preventive VIP must take to which is for Dr. Barkha Sharma, Assistant Professor, Veterinary Epidemiology and Preventive Medicine, take this opportunity to welcome all the eminent guests and participants to this webinar. I heartily welcome respected Dean and Chief Guest Dr. P.K. Shukla, who have been a constant source of inspiration for us. I extend heartiest welcome to the President of VIPM, Dr. Bikane, Dr. Ashok Kumar, General Secretary of VIPM, Executive General Secretary Dr. Mukesh Srivastava, and along with this, I also extend warm welcome to our distinguished speaker, Dr. Rajeshwari Shom, who is a well-known authority in the field of animal brucellosis, nationally and internationally. I also take this opportunity to welcome our knowledge partners in TAS, Dr. Nitin Bhatia, and the web coordinators, Dr. Nilesh, Sandhu, and Dr. Mehta. And all the other people who have worked relentlessly behind the curtains to organize this event. Now, I may please invite Dr. Ashok Kumar, General Secretary VIPM, to address and introduce our chief guest for the day, our Dean, Dr. P.K. Shukla. Over to you, Ashok Kumar sir. Ashok sir, over to you.
Sir, kindly unmute yourself.
So thank you, Dr. Barkha Sharma. So this is a great happiness moment to me as the General Secretary of the Society to welcome the chief guest of today's function, Professor Pankaj Kumar Shukla. And recently, Professor Shukla has joined a new prestigious assignment as a Dean College of Veterinary Science and Husbandry, Mathura. So on behalf of society, on behalf of myself, and on behalf of Intas Animal Health, Dr. Nitin Bhatia, I congratulate you for this achievement, this assignment, and we hope that under your leadership, this old and very prestigious college will move with a great success, with a great pace. Professor Shukla is a well-known scientist and well-known personality in area of poultry science. By qualification, he obtained master degree in poultry science from IVRI. He did PhD from CSUT Kanpur. And presently, Professor Shukla is the Dean Veterinary Faculty, Dowa Sumatra. He also had been on different university positions. He had been Registrar, Dean Postgraduate Studies of Dowa Sumatra. Surely he is a professor and head Department of Poultry Science. He also worked as the Joint Commissioner of Poultry, Government of India in Ministry of Agriculture, Department of Animal Husbandry, Dairying and Fisheries, Krishi Bhavan, New Delhi. Dr. Shukla had been a member and chairman of different policy planning committee in India. He has been the member secretary of the prestigious Central Poultry Development Advisory Council of Government of India, chairman committee on bilateral issues during New Delhi International Ministerial Conference on Avian and Pandemic Influenza. He had been a member of Breed Registration Committee for Registration of Poultry Breed in Indian Council of Agriculture Research, member of Research Advisory Committee, member of QRT of different ICR institutions. He had been a member of scientific panel on meat and meat products, including poultry of FSSAI. He had been an advisor in Agriculture Skill Council of India for poultry developments. And Professor Shukla is a well-known figure in the poultry science, and he has been decorated with the number of honors, awards in India, in abroad. He had been awarded Best Outgoing Graduate Awards, Rashtrapati Award in Scouting, Lifetime Achievement Awards by Government of India, Lifetime Achievement Award by Agriculture Today, Distinguished Faculty Awards by Venus International Foundation Chennai, and Deputy Director General NCC Uttar Pradesh Appreciation Awards. So we are really very extremely happy to have a chief guest on this occasion. Sir, this society is organizing the series of web seminar in association with our knowledge partner, Intas Animal Health, on the different important topics of animal health. Since 3 months, we are organizing the seminar on different issues. We have been organizing this month on infectious disease in animals. So today we are having a very important seminar by a very learned speaker, Professor Dr. Rajeshwari Som. She is principal scientist at ICR Nivedi, Bangalore. So before starting, I would like to invite the chief guest, Professor Shukla, for opening comments on this seminar. Professor Shukla, please.
Thank you, Dr. Ashok. A very good afternoon to all of you. Indeed, it's a matter of great pleasure to be with you. My friend, Dr. Nitin Bhatia, esteemed guest speaker, Dr. Rajeshwari, my organizing team from Mathura, the faculty from epidemiology, veterinary public health, medicine, my fellow faculty, those who have joined us today in the afternoon, and dear participants. Indeed, it's a matter of great pleasure that this institution witnessed the very first symposia of IVPL. I think I'm right. And then we witnessed a lot of activities of this particular organization with us. Of course, Dr. Ashok Kumar, being the former faculty of this college and the alumni of this college, taken a lead during these COVID hours to keep our mind enlightened with the recent topics and organizing a series of webinars with INTAS as a knowledge partner. Really, it's a win-win situation for the scientist and the industry. Dear fellows, as we are aware, almost 60% of the existing human infections are zoonotic. And more than 75% of the emerging infectious disease of the human, they are having an animal origin. An estimate says that every year almost we are coming across 5 new human diseases, and out of this almost 3 have the animal origin. And more important, 80% of the agents which are potentially of bioterrorist use are zoonotic pathogens. So today's topic is very apt, the brucellosis. And here, what we are trying to have, what should be the package of practices to control the brucellosis. If we see the history, the disease was identified during the Crimean War in 1887. And firstly, the Brucella abortus has been identified by a scientist known as Dr. Bank. Henceforth, we also know this disease as Bank's disease. It causes a significant reduction in the production in all categories of animals, maybe sheep, goat, cattle, pig. And in the developing countries particularly, this is imposing a serious impact on the livelihood of the farmers. Spread in the human, oftenly by drinking raw milk from the infected animals, and usually it causes a severe debilitating disease in the pig. Brucellosis is also a very important zoonotic disease of humans, which is causing a disease known as Malta fever, since it has been recognized at Malta, and characterized by undulate fever. To my surprise, when I was in the ministry, I kept an eye on this disease, and a survey which has been brought across the country, it yields certain results which were really eye-opening. This is a disease which is having a potent threat to the veterinarians and associated staff in the veterinary field. Almost 6% of the veterinarians were positive for Brucella. Almost 8% of veterinary pharmacists were positive for Brucella. Almost 9% of animal attendants were positive for Brucella. And more than 20% laboratory workers were positive for Brucella. And of course, in farmers also, incidence was more than 10%. And in the abattoir also, the incidence was more than 7%. So this statistics tells us about how important the disease is. And if you see the annual losses because of this disease in the livestock sector, it crosses more than 250 billion rupees, almost 3.4 billion US dollar, and 80% of this loss is only in the dairy sector. And yes, this Mathura Veterinary College, Duvasu, is privileged to have the new scheme launched by Government of India of 13,500 crores known as National Animal Disease Control Program by Honorable Prime Minister on 11th of September last year. So this Mathura Veterinary College has been used as a launching pad for eradication of this Brucella and FMD. And today we are taking another assignment to host this webinar on brucellosis to come up with a new package of practices for the control of brucellosis. So I congratulate VIPM their associates, especially the General Secretary, Dr. Ashok Kumar, my team from Duwasu, Dr. Barkha, Dr. Mukesh, Dr. Udit Jain, and of course, the launching pad of this webinar, Dr. Nitin Bhatia, who is always instrumental. I have seen him. He's the most vibrant person in the industry, but at the same time, he is also trying to protect the interest of our knowledge dissemination. So at this point of time, we have a very esteemed speaker with us. So I welcome Dr. Rajeshwari from Nivedi. We are eager to listen to you more. So thank you very much for giving me opportunity to speak a few words before the start of this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Shukla, for the opening comments and your presence in time for this seminar. Now I request Dr. Barkha to please proceed to introduce our speaker.
Thank you, sir. The speaker of today, Dr. Rajeshwari Shom. She is a very eminent scientist in the field of animal brucellosis, known very well internationally as well as nationally. She is the principal scientist at ICAR, National Veterinary Institute of Veterinary Epidemiology and Disease Informatics, Nivedi, Bangalore. She did her post-graduation in veterinary microbiology and post-graduation doctoral program in bacteriology. Her core research work includes disease investigation by bacteriological techniques, seromolecular epidemiology, spatiotemporal and risk factor analysis of zoonotic diseases. For last 15 years, she has been working at ICAR Nivedi, Bangalore, and her area of research involves development, evaluation, validation, and enhancement of diagnostic tools for seroepidemiology of brucellosis. She has been associated as PI and co-PI in 24 externally funded research projects. She has developed 2 ELISA kits for surveillance of brucellosis in small ruminants. And these are the only 2 kits available in the country at a very minimum cost. She has 2 patents to her credit and filed 3 patents on brucellosis diagnostics. She has published 2 books, 137 research articles, and has guided 5 PhD and 7 MBSc students. She is the recipient of DBT National Award in 2016 and another DSC Travel Grant. She is a fellow of 3 professional societies, and she received the Best Lady Veterinarian Award from IAAVR Society and Karnataka Women Veterinarian Award. She has taken very proactive role in all the central and state government programs on brucellosis, and she has been advising the government in the control of animal brucellosis, providing diagnostic services to various institutions, farmers, and veterinarians, and she strongly supports the concept of One Health for control of zoonotic diseases. I invite you, ma'am, for the deliberation of the seminar. Over to you, ma'am. Ma'am,
very good afternoon to everyone. Thank you very much, Dr. Barkha. Respected Shukla, are you audible? My voice is audible?
Yes, ma'am. Voice is clear. Yeah.
Voice is clear, yeah. Respected Shukla, sir. Dr. Ashok Kumar, Principal Scientist, Dr. Nitin Bhatia, the Knowledge Partner of INTAS, and Dr. Barkha, Jain, and all the organizing team of this webinar. Welcome to my presentation, and thank you very much for giving me this wonderful opportunity to be with all of you and to present my few thoughts on brucellosis. Dr. Barkha has given a brief introduction on brucellosis, and Shukla sir has given a glimpse on brucellosis. So both of you have made my task very easy. So whatever I present today is out of my experience. So it doesn't go with a book knowledge or anything like that. And what we need in India, I would like to emphasize on practical aspects of brucellosis. I chose this topic, revisiting package of practices for the control of brucellosis. We have been studying on brucellosis for quite time, investigating on the disease, looking into its prevalence, reporting the abortions, and debating a lot on the disease in case of seminars, colleges, and everything. But we have any packages to counteract the disease. And Mathura College, as Shukla sir has said, Prime Minister has inaugurated a program, a very ambitious program to control two deadly diseases which are bothering our livestock. One is FMD and brucellosis. I thought that I must share some experiences of mine with respect. It's not a standardized package of practices, not recommended by government. Out of my sheer experience, I am sharing with you. If any inputs are there, you're always welcome to add on to my experience. My presentation goes like this: brucellosis introduction. It has already been given. Biosafety and biosecurity at laboratory. Today, it's most important that we have a organisms escaped from China vaccine laboratory, and how important it is in our country to protect this biosecurity or biosafety issues at laboratory level as well as in the field level. I would like to throw some light on this. And I have worked extensively on brucella diagnosis. People wonder how to diagnose. If you diagnose, what happens, what has to be done. So I would like to share some information on this. I am in a national animal disease control program. I would like to give a glimpse on the control program which was going on and what is going to be in the future. Then occupational, all of you know that rabies is number one zoonotic disease, and brucellosis is second most important zoonotic disease. And disadvantage with the brucellosis is it infects multiple species, livestock species, bovine, small ruminants, pigs, wild animals. So it's very difficult to tackle this disease as such. And disease prevalence in case of livestock population is around 10 cases per 1 lakh cattle population. Maybe it is an underestimate in certain areas, or it may be an overestimate. And in case of human beings, it is 5 lakh individuals are annually infected worldwide. So, and then some of the hotspots identified for brucellosis as per OIE is, these are the countries, and India is also listed in these hotspot countries. And as many, if you look into the reports of brucellosis, you get a very prevalence reports across the country, and nothing can be taken as a hard and fast prevalence status. But you can see some of the reports are emerging from certain pockets like Maharashtra, Punjab, Karnataka, Telangana. These are the states where prevalence is very high. And northeastern states it is very less. It varies from 6.5 to 16%. And then if you look into the economic burden of the disease, it is very huge. It is 2.4 thousand crores annually. 2.4 thousand crores annually. Shukla sir has said in billions, so I am putting in a INR. So prevalence in human beings also as a risk associated disease, and the prevalence varies from 6 to 20%, and the economic burden of this disease in humans is around 62 crores. So as I said, it was discovered in 1887 elsewhere, but in India it crept into India in 1942 until 2011. We were burdened with the disease, and in 2011 the control program started. Presently the control program is more or less going on in 15 states of the country out of 30 states of the country. So the start is slow, but in the coming, as the program is launched in NADCP, National Animal Disease Control Program, we hope that a very brisk program is going to start with respect to brucellosis. Already FMD is going on from the next year or from this year onwards. So why is such a long period, 6 to 7 decades it took to start a control program? Is the problem is we have an intensification of animal husbandry over the years. So we are number one in milk production. We are 2 and 3 in goat and sheep population, things like that. We have evolved ourselves into a self-sustainable animal husbandry products. So this intensification has had a disease emerged in our livestock population. So we did not pay much attention to its diagnosis. So once you diagnose, there is only option we have left is segregation of animals. There is a ban on slaughter in our country. Most of the, except 7 states in a country, northeastern state and southern Kerala, rest of the country, with the cows slaughter ban is there. So even though we recognize as a positive, we can't slaughter the animal, and vaccination coverage was not there. And now also vaccinated animals, we are not able to distinguish from the infected ones because the tagging is not done. And we have not taken importance on insurance coverage for animals. So, and then there's a, every college, every national forum you go, everyone discusses about brucellosis, and there is around 30 to 40,000 animals are investigated every year. Reporting in the journals is very scanty, and we do not have so far sustainable policy till date. Maybe henceforth very good policy will come up with the help of present government and the ministry level, and then these and all will help us to have a control. Eradication is very difficult in our country. It takes 3 decades or so. So what did we do so that we have kept the disease in such a high prevalence? There is a free trade between the states. Even yesterday I saw that some of us are calling for diagnosis of milch animals from Karnataka. They want to take to Haryana. So there is no bar in transporting the animals from here to there. They will take the healthy animal from here and go there, or maybe infected animal from here to there. So there is no check on that. And then we are when you look into the farms, these things, I'm just telling you why we are complicating this disease. So animals are purchased, replaced, purchased, replaced. There is no check on disease diagnosis. And once the animal is purchased, there is no quarantine for at least 30 days or something there. And laboratory assistant is not taken when abortions happen. And then surveillance measures in the imported many countries are using milk ring test, a very simple test that we are not at all practicing. And then we are not testing slaughtered animals. See, the animals which are coming for the slaughter speaks a lot from where they are coming. Is there really brucella positive? If it is the slaughterhouse worker, Shukla sir has said. So if this animal is infected, how many people in the slaughterhouse are going to infect animal which are going to be slaughtered? And then we are not emphasizing on the hygiene part of it, burial, burning of placenta, throwing, and infected animals, sheep and goat especially, are using infected males are used for the breeding purpose. So this has all resulted in disease prevalence in all the species of livestock, and individually it has been calculated, and then cumulative is 22,000 crores burden India is placed. Ours is a dairy sector, so we need to control the disease in bovines, and then later we have to take steps to control in sheep and goat, because we are having a sizable sheep and goat population. So what is this brucella species all about? So revisiting brucella species. In India, we know only these 4 species, but elsewhere in the world, there are 12 species identified. So let us not bother about all those things. Let us concentrate on these 3 pathogens which are infecting human beings. Even canis is also infecting. So some more information we have to generate in the coming years. Presence of Brucella canis in dogs infecting the pet owners. So this information right now is lacking, and more research is those who are in this webinar seminar, please concentrate to generate some information, pet disseminating the infection to the owners. I think we need to generate some data, and we have sufficient data on all the things. Maybe pig industry, less information is available. Brucella species and biowars, all of you know, must be some of the students and all, you know, biowars are there, so many biowars are there. And if you look at this one, everyone says Brucella melitensis is highly pathogenic, Brucella suis is Next to that, and then Brucella abortus is less severe compared to melitensis and suis, and canis is benign, and ovis is not infecting, but we do not have in India information on ovis. So some research emerging out of sheep Brucella ovis will be a very good information in the future. So if animals are infected, there will be abortion, retention of placenta, reduced milk production 25%. 5 to 25% is the estimated milk production reduction in case of cattle, arthritis, and then infertility in case both male and females. So these infected animals act as source of infection to human beings. It's a known fact, and humans will get undulant fever, joint muscular pain, and even infertility is observed in case of human beings. So symptoms in animals, as I said, one thing I would like to throw the information here is first abortion is very common in case of animals. Please remember, second abortion is rare, third abortion do not occur. What is the meaning of here? Once the animal aborts, it may not abort second time, and rarely it may abort second time, and it will never abort third time. The problem with this animal is it excretes the organisms through vaginal secretion and disseminates the disease in the farms. That is where the problem lies. So it's an indirect economic loss to the farmers. Who is at risk of brucellosis? Livestock farmers. Look at this lady with the bare feet, and she's cleaning, feeding, milking, everything. Veterinarians and supporting staff, we are at risk of acquiring brucellosis. Abattoir workers, consumers. I think to some extent, because of milk cooperative and then pasteurized milk is being used in the recent last 10 years, there's a lot of improvement that raw milk consumption has reduced, but it has not gone completely. Camel milk, goat milk, people do consume in North India, so that there is a risk of acquiring infection, and of course people like us who work with Brucella have a risk of acquiring in the laboratories. So in case of human beings, I said in animals, in case of human beings, as per disease, Center for Disease Control, is a fever should be there, night sweats, fatigue, anorexia, weight loss, headache, and arthralgia. So 1 or 2 symptoms may synonym with coronavirus, is it not? So, but it is a chronic disease. Incubation period is very long in case of human beings. So I am intermixing with the livestock brucellosis and human, because here we have a very important role to protect ourselves as well as to be aware of what is happening. So that the symptoms I have already explained. So how important is, how many brucellae are required to infect human beings or infect an animal? Look at here, Brucella melitensis, only 10 organisms are required. It's an infective dose. Brucella suis is 1,000 to 10,000. Brucella abortus is 1 lakh. Brucella canis is 10 lakhs. So if you look at this, sometimes we wonder, how carelessly we deal while handling the animals or while working in the laboratories, or how the farmers must be in the field, shepherds and everything, how risks associated with these animals if they are Brucella infected. So this is where the biosafety and is very important. So the pathogenesis, why this organism is such a difficult to control here is, it survives and the phagocytic macrophages, it tries to multiply and it evades from the immune mechanism, and it also enters into the epithelial cells, that is trophoblast. That's why causes placentitis, abortion, and then last stage of pregnancy abortions happen. So there are 181 Brucella virulence factors. The most important is the LPS1 and secretory system 1, 2, 3, 4. So the organism is guarded with such a type of virulence factors. See, once it enters into the system, antibiotics will not work. In adult animals only it infects, because it requires a gravid uterus, trophoblast. So, and it enters into the reticuloendothelial system, so it is very difficult. The recurrence will be there. Sometimes even vaccinated animal also get infected when you place in a very high disease situation. So the organism is very complex, and then it requires a control measure. So when organism is such a complex and then very low number of organisms are required to cause the disease, let us look into the biosafety aspects of it. Safe handling of pathogens in laboratory or public health setting by scientists or clinicians is called a biosafety. We always confuse. Today this word is very important. Keeping dangerous pathogens secure and out of hands of someone who may not want to use them intentionally or to harm others is a biosecurity. What has happened with corona, we do not know. Whether China deliberately left it, now China has left Brucella deliberately, we do not know. As a bioweapon they want to test. We don't know. They say laboratory leak. We can't believe them. So biosecurity and biosafety is so important when we are handling zoonotic pathogens. Not only this, all zoonotic pathogens. So Brucella comes under risk group 3. So risk group 1, risk group 2, 3 and 4. So likely cause serious lethal human disease. Here associated with serious or lethal disease for which preventive therapeutic intervention may be available. So prevention measures are there for Brucella, even therapeutic interventions are also there for human beings. So that is why it is categorized in this. And then biological warfare classification, Brucella comes under B. Classification. A is anthrax, B is Brucella. It can be aerosolized and leave it into the air, and it infects many human beings, causes lot of morbidity, not mortality. So that is how the biosecurity is very important with the Brucella. So we have not necessary that every college or institution should have a BSL 3 facility. What can be done at BSL 2 plus laminar airflow for Brucella diagnosis? We can perform so many tests: RBPT, MRT, ILSA, CLSA, qPCR, PCRs, LFA. Only isolation culture handling can be done should be done in BSL 3 plus 3 facility. So I think for diagnosis we should use all these in every institutions. A simple laminar airflow with a BSL2 criteria can be adapted for diagnosis. See, sample collection, we can do it from human beings or animals with a personal protective measures. And then BSL3 is required for isolation. BSL2, all the serological tests, even molecular detection also can be done in BSL2. I am emphasizing on this because it is not that only isolation is required to diagnose brucellosis. So all these supplement tests helps for diagnosis of brucellosis. Biological warfare, I have already told you. Today in this context I have put this slide. In 1954 itself, Brucella suis was weaponized in the US. So it is a theoretical model they have established. See, look at this 82,500 cases of Brucella requiring extended therapy. Extended therapy. This is where our country will have a problem. The population density of our country is very high. If any bioterrorist attack is there, large number of people will be infected, and they require extended therapy. Means the cost of treatment will be very high, even though death is very less, unlike corona. And then, very famous scientist Nielsen. He carried he carried to the China in his bag Brucella organism, and then he was caught in the airport and he was in the jail. So the research workers and then no, slide is moving. So that's what he was caught in the Ottawa airport en route to China, and then that's how he was carrying the Brucella organism in the lunch box, and that's how. But it can't be the way it is anthrax as a bioterror organism. Brucella cannot be, because the incubation period is very long, and it is 4 weeks to 6 months of time, and there is a treatment for this, and. So now I am coming to the next. The introduction part is over. The biosafety part is over. The diagnostics, as this is a disease which is having largest number of diagnostics. Why diagnosis is required? Quick diagnosis is required so that we can segregate an animal, we prevent the disease transmission to other, and then also we can diagnosis means, see, if we keep on diagnosing the disease, we understand how vaccination has to be given to this particular pocket or this particular state. That kind of we can grade them as a moderate prevalence, low prevalence, high prevalence. So like that grading is possible if we are not diagnosing the disease. It is in case of animals, the vaccination, we can't influence the policy planners for the control of the disease. How important diagnosis in case of human brucellosis is, if you diagnose it early, we can recommend him for a treatment. So this is not a solution, long-term solution. Long-term solution is we need to control the disease in animals. So, but clinical diagnosis in case of animals is difficult, because until an animal aborts, we will not be understanding. And then detection of antibodies, all animals will not have a detectable antibodies. And then Brucella is disease which is blamed very badly. False positives are very high, they say people, and even vaccine antibodies also will give a positivity in serological reactions. And our animal husbandry departments, colleges have a diagnostic facilities, but hardly they follow a routine diagnosis of brucellosis. And we have a rough strains as well as smooth strains. We have diagnostics for smooth strains, we do not have for rough strains. So materials required, I am just telling you that serum is required, blood can be used for PCR. Some of the semen samples, aborted samples can be used for PCR and isolation. And biohazard material, these have to be transported very carefully. When we asked in the control program, do you undertake a task of diagnosis in case of brucellosis? So you can see, yes, people said is only 1.2% out of 789. That means we are not diagnosing the disease. Whether it is a abortion case or routine testing, we are not at all doing the diagnosis for brucellosis. Some people say no facility, some say simply we don't have time or something like this. So this has to be increased to some extent in the control program. A continuous surveillance is required. We have to watch the disease, where it is increasing, where it is decreasing, and we have to undertake vaccination accordingly. So, and then the question comes, we can't blame veterinarians, where to diagnose, what are the facilities at his disposal. So, and what is the work entrusted to him for the diagnosis. We are not doing bulk milk tests. Our institute is doing something, a random brucellosis prevalence surveillance in the states and country. A very small institute cannot meet to the entire country. And the herds and flocks, sheep and goat, those who are interested, they're coming for testing. Then testing of slaughter and markets, we are not doing. abortions, ROP, and so these are some of the things where we can concentrate on testing. Some systematic sampling plan to monitor slaughterhouses, to monitor animals at the arts, to monitor at the this especially abortion, ROP, and look into the etiology. Not only brucellosis, it can be IBR, it can be Q fever, it can be leptospira. So such type of things are required to be looked into whenever abortion cases comes. So see, these are the things. I just want to skip off those things. I will just come to Indian context. So diagnostic options used for brucellosis hard level is we can use MRT, milk ring test, and the serological test. I think we are having RBPT and ELISA, and then clinical cases we can do isolations. That number of tests can be done. So diagnostics in India, what is available with us is milk ring test antigen, Rose Bengal test antigen, SAT antigens. These are all available in veterinary biologicals, Punjab, Tamil Nadu, IBRI. So we can procure them and test it. Then ELISA kits are available. Only these 2 kits are available from our institute. You can procure them and test it. And imported kits are very costly. Our kit is 19,000. Imported kit is 80 to 90,000. So serological tests are safe to do it, and then they are also available. Research focus is there to improve them. What we need is a LFA test, lateral flow assay test, which will help veterinarians to diagnose in the at the spot. So see, we keep getting some kind of calls or requests from various states. Certain outbreak has happened. Please investigate us and give what is happening in our flock. There are abortions at the 5th month, 6th month, 7th. So some kind of preparedness every institution should have, if not isolation, at least serological diagnosis, molecular, everyone will be having a PCR. So this kind of test should be done, and we be able to provide the diagnosis within 3 days, preliminary report. And 5 to 7 days, a confirmatory report can be provided, and they should be ensured of a compensation. Compensation means a state government can do. It is done in Karnataka. If animal is infected of brucellosis, compensation is provided to the farmers. So that kind of policy is also required. See, panic happens. You must have seen in news in Kerala, in Karnataka, Kolar, in certain places in West Bengal, suddenly the disease reporting or a news it comes, people pick up. Day for yesterday also one lady called me, it is happening in China, what about in India, and things like that. So when it comes to the press only, we'll try to realize how important it is. So in the colleges or institutions, we should be able to have a basic diagnostic facility to diagnose such type of outbreaks. So every test is all out. Wherever you go, ayo madam, aap kya bana rahe, test bana rahe, kitna test karenge brucella ko? Like this, people keep asking me. So every test has certain sensitivity and specificity. You can look at it here. Rose Bengal test is good, sensitive, but it lacks some kind of specificity. It doesn't mean that we should not use Rose Bengal. You definitely use. Make use of this 100%. Correlate with the animal symptoms. Similarly, milk ring test, if you see it is having sensitivity 88%, 70, 100 animals are there in a farm. Screen the animals and see if the MRT is coming positive and negative history of abortions, retention, correlate with and then try to say this farm is infected, this farm needs to be vaccinated, infected animals needs to be segregated. Only this message needs to be passed on. Please don't bother about the sensitivity and specificity, or less correlate with the symptoms. We have been seeing these issues of sensitivity, specificity, and the things like that. So at field utility, what you can say is the only thing is RBPT, MRT, LFA. LFA, certain companies are already selling this test. So for your information, I'm telling you. So in the district diagnostic laboratories, state diagnostic laboratories, they should be able to do this, including ELISA. and in the LFA, some of the things they should procure. I always tell veterinarians, please keep abortion, abortion, infertility things keeps coming. You have a personal protective measures as well as send those animals samples for testing, and you will be helping a farmer directly. That if this animal is infected, that animal will spread the disease to others. So the entire herd gets infected. So we have seen many dairy farms wiped out of brucellosis. Many sheep and goat farms are wiped out of because of brucellosis. So as you know, herds. If a farmer in Maharashtra is having 800 animals, so my approach should be there. First, I should do MRT. Using a bulk milk sample. If his farm is having a MRT positive, then only I will go for testing each and individual animal. So first I am lightening my work doing MRT. So this approach is very important. Instead of pricking every animal under. So I am not going into the test details, milk ring test. See, if you see very beautiful test it is actually. So here is milk is used, fresh milk is used. Or after collecting the milk, you can keep in the refrigerator. Next day you can test it. So not beyond 24 hours. So a 1 ml of milk and a 50 microliter of antigen. Single animal pooled sample can be taken, or 10 animals pooled sample also can be tested. So in OIE they say 300 liters, but in our country with our experience, don't take one sample out of 100 liters only. Because our antigen is capable of detecting, gives a very good results with 100 liters, one sample. Test takes only 1 hour. So if a dairy farmer is having 100 animals, you are taking 10 samples and say positive or negative milk ring test. It's a hard locating test. So Rose Bengal, I'm not going to tell you the details of the test, and I would like to share this information is these 4 institutions we evaluated and we found all of them kappa value is very good. IVRI antigen, because we received through postal courier, delayed and it got deteriorated, maybe it is showing, otherwise it is also 0.9. So don't have a hesitation of using these antigens from Punjab, IVRI, Bangalore, Tamil Nadu, all are good with respect to RBPT antigen. So this is our experience. I think serum agglutination test is very useful for human beings. If a person is RBPT positive, invariably you must do serum agglutination test. Because of positive time, I'm not explaining you the procedures. It will be available and I can share you later also. And then you see here RBPT strong positive. If it is SAT titer of 1 in 160, the person is positive, you should recommend for treatment. Most of the human brucellosis treatment, we are recommending here by doing these 2 tests. So I think in the colleges also, veterinarians, animal husbandry departments also, if the RBPT positive and titer of 1 in 60, and if is having a symptoms of fever, you can recommend. These are the ones recent. You can look at here strong positive and the MAT formation. You can look at here a strong RBPT positive MAT. These are all done in my laboratory only. So human brucellosis, you remember, you try to attempt a diagnosis of a suspected, your colleagues, friends or anything. In case of animals, this is what I wanted to revisit. If an animal is having a history of abortion or a problem of infertility, take a sample, do a Rose Bengal plate test. And if ELISA provision is there, you try to do ELISA test. If both the tests are positive, declare the animal as brucellosis positive, that's all. If you are not having ELISA option, if the animal is aborted RBPT, please declare it as a positive. If you are having a 2 test and there is a confusion, RBPT positive and ELISA negative, retest. If it is ELISA positive and no history of abortion in farms, it happens usually. It happens with many diseases if you are using a imported kit. ELISA positive, no symptoms, no abortions in the farm, confirm with any other test. So this is message I wanted to pass with respect to diagnostic test. So these are the two kits which is available from Nivedi. Upon request, we can send 500 samples can be tested in 19,000 rupees, and we deliver at your doorstep. We have also developed lateral flow assay for diagnosis of brucellosis in livestock. This is the one which requires a mass scale production, transfer of technology that has not happened for last 3 years. And this is case of human brucellosis we developed here. You can look at here in case of human beings, both if it is IgG, it is a twin, two cards are attached together. This is IgG and IgM. Both are positive, means person is positive for IgG antibodies, IgM antibodies, he requires a treatment. Here person is positive for IgG and he is negative for IgM. So this person can be retested. Later he should be recommended for the treatment. Treatment is a very long course in case of, very cautiously you have to decide about the treatment. And fluorescent polarization assay, some of the teachers must be reading recently, like, OIE recommends fluorescent polarization. It is a DIVA potential. So in case of control program, we would like to use this test in adult animals, not in the young animals. See, from certain samples we are getting from Bhopal or Punjab, adult animals are vaccinated. There is an infected animal, there is a vaccinated animal, adult animals. So distinguishing both of them is very difficult. So I'll just show you. See, if animal is positive by 3 tests, it is positive for Brucella infection. If an animal is positive by Rose Bengal plate test, indirect ELISA, negative by fluorescent polarization assay, this animal is vaccinated. So this type of controversial samples are also coming to our institutes. Adult animals are vaccinated, not recommended in our country. So, next one. Next slide up. Sir, is it going fine, or should I reduce my presentation? How it is?
Good going, ma'am. Keep going.
So I'm exceeding the time limit, 4:30. Is it okay?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. No problem.
No problem. Yeah. So, so molecular diagnostic approaches we have because nowadays youngsters are very smart, so they straight away go to PCRs and things like that. So it is a good approach, but where to apply, when to apply, and what is its utility? The cost is worth of using PCR, so that certain things are to be done. So this one again, I'm putting certain things like LFA. I told you it is available from Genomics Molecular Diagnostic, UBio Diagnostics Kerala. These are available. FPA is available from Digimex imported, and then kits of ELISA are available from IDEX, IDVET, BioCompare, Thermo Fisher, even from TRPVB Chennai, Tanuvas, then Genomics Hyderabad. So I am just giving you the options. So it is up to you to choose the diagnostic test available in the country. This information is very important. Competitive ELISAs are also available, Spanova and Bionet. They're costly. It is 1,20,000, and these indirect ELISAs are somewhere 75,000 to 80,000. Our ICR Nivedi kits are around 19,000. So the options are available. So depending upon your fund capability, user friendly, you have to look into the diagnostics. So molecular typing methods, I am this one you can do directly from the blood, placental fluid, extracted DNA, do PCR. So even real-time PCR also, I think people are expert. DUAS must be doing coronavirus, so they can attempt some of the diagnosis of brucellosis using real time. It works very nicely, but you need to correlate with the serology. So we have done some kind of molecular studies in Brucella isolates. Everyone cannot do. We are having BSL-2 plus facility. We could do 117 isolates, and we found the sequence type 1. So that means all our isolates are uniform. One vaccine will serve the entire country. Unlike blue tongue or other, the serotypes are different, in our country, only Brucella S19 will serve the purpose of vaccination. And ours is going well with the world global genotypes also, matching with the world. We are not deviating much. This is because of the homology of the Brucella. This thing. I have come to the third topic. If anything is required, I will answer. There's no problem. So the first thing is what we learned is little bit of introduction, then little bit of biosafety, diagnosis. We dealt lot on diagnosis, and now we are coming to the control of the disease. So why do we require control program in case of brucellosis? The program assures to establish accredited herds and villages free of brucellosis. The concept came 3 years back. Brucella-free villages, is it possible? So we wanted to take up a program, Brucella-free villages. Control program in livestock reduces human infection. That is very important. The world looks this only. They do not bother the economic implications. They want to see in One Health aspect how the infection can be reduced in humans. Our main aim is economic as well as One Health. So how do we achieve this? How do we control the disease? There are two faces of a coin. One is we need to map the disease, surveillance, and we have to go for blanket vaccination. So these are the only mantra for controlling this disease, is it not? So the present vaccination strategy is DADF recommends S19 cow foot vaccination for 4 to 8 months. It is subcutaneous. So it causes infection. If you give 1 lakh animals, 2 animals show antibody titer in adult animals, very minimal. So this, wherever we go, there will be lot of discussion on this issue. So as per our study, we have seen that around 300 days of vaccination, all the antibody goes off. We are vaccinating at the age of 4 months. When the animal becomes adult, most of the animals will be free of vaccinal antibody. So the reports say that it is 2 in 1 lakh. It is an abortive patient in adult animals. Lot of discussion happened in DADF. Can we go for vaccinating adult animals? Because our country is so diverse, and we do not have biosafety measures at place at farmers level. If animal aborts, the farmer is at risk, other animals are at risk. So the adult animal vaccination is not implemented in our country. And the most important thing, what we observed in knowledge attitude practices, veterinarians, we collected the information. The veterinarians are having a fear of vaccinating against brucellosis because it is mildly virulent to humans. So this is where these are the 3 advantages. So, some research focus is there to develop safe vaccines for adult animals. That means conjunctival inoculation is also risky because if you instill in conjunctiva, the flies will sit, it will transmit to other human beings. So all those issues are there. Reduced virulence, safer handling, vaccines for humans we do not have, alternate route of vaccination. These are all the things which are going on in research, but right now we are in this stage only. So it is no cure, it cannot be a cure. So it is best method is to vaccinate only. So some people try doxycycline, streptomycin, rifampicin. In case of human beings, it works very nicely. Tetracyclines works very nicely in case of animals. No, it cannot be, but in humans, yes, it can be. It can be cured in humans with the doxycycline, streptomycin, rifampicin, doxycycline morning, evening 1 gram, and then rifampicin 600 mg, one per day for 6 weeks he has to take. So you can imagine both the antibiotics if taken for 6 weeks, person will have a complication. If he is having a diabetes, sugar, heart problem, acidity problem, so you should be under the care of physician. So before deciding a treatment, diagnosis is very important. So what is a cow foot vaccine? I just don't want to tell about the vaccine strain. I'll just come to the success stories. Don't think that if you vaccinate an animal, it will be 100% protected against. It is only 85% reduction will be there in abortions. It is not a solid immunity. So one dose of vaccine gives sufficient immunity for at least 5 pregnancies. So booster is not recommended, only once. See how many times you are vaccinating. I am always comparing wherever I go for programs. Every 6 months you are vaccinating FMD, every 6 months. For cough, you vaccinate only once in a lifetime, protect from brucellosis. That we took such a long period from 1941 till date. We are waiting something to happen. So something, when it will happen, it is very only one prick. So it will protect throughout the life. So if you keep on doing like this, vaccination, unvaccinated animal, this is a vaccinated animal. If it goes to an infected herd also, it will not be getting infection, is it not? So this is so important, vaccinating animal at young age, building up a herd immunity. See that today you are vaccinating entire country. After 2 years, all that animals will become adult and they are protected from brucellosis. How beautiful it will be. So it is, imagining is very easy, but the manpower, the funds, the effort is to be devoted to achieve that dream. So we made a when we under control program, we go to the states, we tell them, see, make your own vaccination calendar. If a calf is born on 1st January 2020, that calf will reach 4th month during May. It will become 4 months. During this period to this period, anytime you can vaccinate, May to September, May, June, July, August, September. So up to September. If a calf is born on 1st June, from October to January, this animal should be vaccinated. If it is born on 1st October, so this way calendar, 3 visits in a village in an year, catch hold of all those eligible female calves and vaccinate them. In a village, you may get 4 to 5 calves during that time. So with one vial, we can cover all the calves in a village. 3 visits. Like any other diseases, BT and even in fact HS, you have to vaccinate these things also, large number of adult animals, BQ. So it is not like this. When you go to village, pick up those calves of 4 to 8 months, vaccinate, tag them, and make the farmer to understand that this vaccinated animal will cost you 3,000 more. Because it is Brucella vaccinated, it will never catch an infection. It will never spread to human beings. I think this is the right time. Blessing in disguise, Corona, that people, if you tell them the hygienic measures, they try to understand what is hygiene. They can wash, they can use masks, they can wear slippers, even they can wear aprons while cleaning the animals. This is one thing. Second thing, they really understand what is vaccination. Many people were not willing to vaccinate. Now, because of Corona, when the vaccine will come, people are waiting for this. Maybe the same approach will be adapted to animals also. So many people will have a lot of discussions on cough foot vaccine. Diagnosis, wherever you go, problem. Vaccine, problem. What is that problem? I sometimes see that some of the things we need to keep at back of our mind. We should not bring it in the front and discuss and don't do anything. That is a more, that's how the prevalence has come up in human beings and animals. So vaccinal antibodies disappear by first calving. You are giving at the age of 4 months. The animal is going to calve at the age of 24 months. By that time, the vaccinal antibodies will disappear. Where you are getting the vaccinal antibodies in the adult? For this, you have been debating for so long. Animal remain protected lifelong, means up to at least 5 pregnancies it is getting protected, and reinfection boost protection. Suppose this vaccinated animal, if it is an infected environment, if it comes across Brucella organism, it will boost the immunity. So reinfection reinfected animal do not abort. We have a question mark on this. Research has not elucidated this theory. And reinfected need not to be a carrier. This also we do not know. So let us work on that and do not focus this as a main issue and suppress vaccination. So remain negative till re-exposed. This animal will remain negative. If you do serological test, it will remain negative, is it not? Till the re-exposure happens. So there are certain things. That's how the hindrance in implementation of vaccination has happened. We are not practicing RB51 till date. And maybe in the next NADCP control Prime Minister has launched, we are not using this vaccine. RB51 is not implemented in India. Many countries eradicated brucellosis using S19. At the first instance, they used S19. After using S19 for 1 or 2 decades, when the prevalence has come down, they resorted to RB51. In our country, we are in the first stage, so we are going with S19. It is also RB51 is immunity is similar to S19, and it is also virulent to humans. And rifampicin is sensitive. S19 is sensitive, whereas RB51 is resistant. You can look at it here. Suppose a person is infected while vaccinating. He can be diagnosed if he is infected with S19. Diagnostic tests are available. If he is infected with RB51, we can't diagnose, we can't treat him. So country like us, huge manpower, huge 55 million households are involved in animal husbandry. We can't risk their life with dumping RB51 right now. So that's how the government has cautiously taken a decision to go in for. There was lot of lobby with respect to RB51, but in the first instance, S19, if person is infected also, it can be diagnosed, it can be treated, and in the first instance, we must use S19 for over 10 to 20 years. So we do not have a vaccination policy for small ruminants. I am asking Shukla sir and anybody, sir, do you know that the brucellosis in sheep and goat, as I said, is more virulent, and its prevalence is higher than in bovines nowadays, what we are seeing for last 10 years. So no one is raising this issue. We have a largest population, we have a mixed farming system. Disease control in bovines we are targeting. Definitely it will lead a emergence in the small ruminants. And Brucella melitensis, 10 organisms are sufficient to cause disease in human beings, and no vaccination is followed for small ruminants. It is not possible in a country like us, because now we are our Brucella vaccination for bovines will, once it starts, we require 30 to 40 million doses. Our production capacity is around 10 million doses. We are not able to meet the requirement for bovines. We can't think of small ruminants. So that doesn't mean that we should keep quiet. If vaccine is not there, then what happens? We can do surveillance in sheep and goat. We should not breed the infected male sheep and goat animals. We can put in a place a biosafety measures or hygienic measures, and then frequent purchases and all this should be minimized. So that kind of complementary measures, if it is in place for another 5 to 10 years, sheep and brucellosis in sheep and goat, to some extent it can be minimized. Otherwise, you wait for vaccination, things will go out of hand. So that's why again requirement is 40 million. We are not having a capacity to produce this much of vaccine. So what is this? A policy, till a time gap policy to control, to have a certified this one male animals, and then this one flocks should be screened, segregated. Unlike cattle, here animals can go for slaughter, or a test and slaughter policy can be adapted for small ruminants. Such type of things is possible. So suppose very good questions before starting this webinar meeting, people were started asking what to do with the infected animal, what to do with the infected animal. If it is a male animal, do not use for breeding purpose. So if you are detecting a animal in the farm, go for a mass vaccination. Test and slaughter policy is not practiced in some of the livestock species. some of the livestock species, that means bovines, cattle especially. But pigs and sheep and goat policy is there, you can do it. Pig especially, if the disease starts in a pig herd, you can't imagine. Veterinarians will be helpless. Every time abortions keep happening, it blows out of proportion. How do you control? Remove the infected animals, prevent the spread of the disease. Complementary management practices are to be put in the place. Thorough on the farm, you need to discuss with the farmer, remove the positive animal if pig is infected. If you keep him, you are going to get infected. Other pigs are, your whole farm will get wiped off. So that kind of discussion is required. From his farm, it will go to another farm, village, then the disease transmission, never ending. So again, small recommendations, it's a little bit these things. So already I have discussed many of the things. So if any questions are there, I'll take up on the recommendation part. So at the end, I would like to show this slide. What do you feel? Who is responsible for brucellosis? Is animals, human beings, or brucella organisms? Maybe probably a kind of planning, a policies, implementation modality, lot of fund is required, Always attention goes towards the dreaded diseases. It is causing abortion in an animal. Once animal aborts, what happens? That kind of attitude has resulted in escalated prevalence and infection to human beings, and India is tagged as a hotspot for brucellosis. So that we have made only this situation. Otherwise, we were fine. So and that, before ending my presentation, I'll take up a lot of questions. Today's WhatsApp and news, it is coming. Brucellosis outbreak. Read why India needs to take precautions right away. So I must thank Mathura Veterinary for college for giving me this opportunity. INTAS also. Such a nice timing it is where China and people are asking me, many people are asking me why it may be a deliberate, it may be a leak. They pretend like that it is a leak, but it may be a deliberate. They're testing a bioweapon capacity. So and India needs to take precautions right away. So who is responsible? Is the medical institution will come forward to see whether your brucella is there or not? Never. It is only veterinary institutions diagnosing human brucellosis, livestock brucellosis. If government comes, it comes to veterinarians only. So is it not right on our part to create a minimum facilities for diagnosis? If something happens in a state suddenly, and then see the reporting goes in a right proper, and there are some expert institutions, IVRI, Nivedi, or so maybe a TRPVB, Chennai, or some other institution, a support evidence of isolation, molecular detection, some kind of networking, so you can solidly support this. Yes, it is brucella, or no, it is brucella. So this kind of capability building, capacity building is very essential. So I feel that not a single this control program is for a country as a whole. We all own this program. A collaboratory vision has come up to combat brucellosis. We have to contribute a little bit whatever is possible from our side. I end my presentation here. Again, I would like to thank all the audience who are with me, and then I have not gone very details and everything. Whatever my experience I have shared. If any questions is there, I will take up.
So thank you very much. Thank you very much for delivering a very nice analysis. And you have covered all the aspects of brucellosis, starting from the incidence in India, clinical manifestation, diagnostic intricacies, different diagnostic kits being developed by ICR Nivedi, and how to make a decision on the brucellosis case which is coming in the farm. And definitely some you have suggested for the national policy planners. So really, it's a very informative lecture is given by Dr. Shom. Now I forward to Dr. Jain for some question answer session if it is there. Dr. Jain. Dr. Jain, you mute yourself. Your voice is not coming, Dr. Jain.
आप म्यूट पे हैं.
Good evening to all of you. There are certain queries from different participants. Can I start, ma'am? Question answer?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Okay. My first question is, at what seroprevalence level the bovine brucellosis vaccination is recommended?
Dr. Jain, it has not been told like at what prevalence rate you should vaccinate animals. But at Nivedi, what we have done is we have, based on the nationwide prevalence study, we have classified certain states as a low, medium, high. Low means less than 5%, medium is 5 to 10%, and more than 10% is very high prevalence rate. But what is happening here is, so definitely high prevalence states should be given due attention. But low prevention states like Northeast, not necessary that we should neglect vaccination, because these animals will go here also. So the transmigration in between the states is so free that you vaccinate one place, you control the disease, in another place you neglect, you can't do that. That's why the countrywide control program they have taken up, irrespective of the surveillance. And another thing I would like to emphasize is, why do we do surveillance? Today there is a 15% prevalence in particular states. Say for example, you have done a blanket vaccination for 5 years in that state. So this 15% is going to reduce after 5 years. That impact assessment, you have spent 30 rupees on single dose of vaccine on a single animal. So for 5 years, how many animals you have vaccinated in the country? So did you receive the remuneration for that? That's an impact study. So the surveillance is required and the grading is required, prevalence grading, and then vaccination throughout the country. I think it is required because interstate movement of animals is very common in our place.
Okay. Next question is, what are the preventive or control strategies for brucellosis in pigs?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I would like to share my experience with the swine brucellosis. The swine brucellosis, Brucella suis, caused by Brucella suis, infected boar able to transmit the disease to the females. So there is no vaccine for swine. There is no vaccine for small ruminants in India, whereas in China it is there. In other countries for small ruminants in Middle East and all, they are using small ruminants. So we don't have vaccine for swine. In that case, breeding boar should be brucella free. If frequent purchase, it happens in Kerala, in Karnataka, these pig farms, we have seen the outbreak happens because the people keep buying the pigs for breeding purpose or for replacement purpose or for increasing their number of pigs. So they don't have any check on the disease. So once the disease enters, their clothes, their feeding and living habits, then leaking habits, they pick up the infection, and once they start aborting, it will never stop. You'll become panic. So one thing is pre-check. Disease pre-check is required. Disease-free breeding boars are required, and then little bit of hygiene practices are required, and all the big piggery should be insured. If the pig farm is infected, the entire pig can be removed. The pigs can be removed with the help of insurance and restock with the healthy animals. This strategy works very nicely. This strategy really it works very nicely.
Okay, ma'am. The next question is, brucellosis is a self-limiting disease in females?
In female animals, self-limiting disease.
Yes.
Means in animals, with respect to animals only we are telling, no? It is a self-limiting disease. The disease itself is a self-limiting disease. If it aborts only, the excretions will get transmitted to, we contaminate with the water, feed, and it is getting mixed up, and the vaginal discharge falling on the floor. So other animals are getting infected. Otherwise, it is self-limiting disease.
Yes. Another question is, how to dispose the aborted material and disinfect the farm premises?
See, aborted material, there are some ways of disposing. You know, in some of the southern states and all, the aborted fetuses, they throw in the water bodies. So can you imagine if an aborted fetus, brucella infected fetus, if it is thrown in the water body pond and all the organisms spread surroundings, and you can imagine what will happen. So the best way is to dig and then deep, and then put it the placenta, and then put the lime and cover with the sand, so that the dogs will not carry this placenta away from the farms. And then dogs are one of the risk factor. From the farms, they transmit the disease to other farms.
Okay. Another question is all ROP cases are of due to brucellosis?
No, it cannot be. So retention of placenta is one of the clinical symptom of brucellosis. It may be because of many other reasons, many other diseases. So it's one of the symptom we can shortlist while defining a disease. Not necessarily is because of brucellosis. Leathery placenta is the pathognomonic feature which we find in brucella, and I never advocate post-mortem of brucella placenta or collecting the samples without proper biosafety measures.
Last question is, what precautions should be taken to avoid cases of brucellosis at a semen station?
Yeah. Semen station, yeah, very good question. Like, we have one semen station, routinely they send samples, routinely, zero surveillance. They keep sending male animals. And then semen samples also, serum samples they test. Routinely, every 6 months they test serum samples. So if the sera positive is there, they sometimes send semen also samples, semen samples for detecting by PCR. So we are little bit unsuccessful with the semen detection so far, but we are routinely doing any bull station regularly. It should be screened every 6 months for brucella, and the seropositive or seroreactivity, if it is found, those animals should not be used for semen collection.
Okay, ma'am. There are lots of questions, but you have cleared all the answers in your presentation. So thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Nice answer.
Thank you, Dr. Jain. After a long time, I'm seeing you.
Dr. Barkha, please proceed.
Thanks a lot, ma'am, for such an informative and enlightening presentation. So many queries were there regarding brucellosis. It is such an enigmatic disease, but now a lot of that has been solved. In fact, I also had many problems and many queries regarding that. Now I request Dr. Mukesh Srivastava, Executive General Secretary of VIPM, to present vote of thanks for this webinar session. Dr. Mukesh, the stage is yours.
Thank you, ma'am. First of all, a very warm and graceful evening to most valued guests, organizing committee, as well as one and all gathered over here. It is my privilege to have been asked to propose vote of thanks on this occasion. I, on behalf of VIPM Society and entire fraternity of Duasu Mathura extend most sincere thanks to our Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor G.K. Singh sir for permitting us for this webinar. Thank you sir for your wholehearted support for successful execution of this webinar. We are highly thankful to Chairman, Organizing Committee, Chief Guest, Professor P.K. Shukla sir, Dean, Veterinary Faculty, Registrar, and Dean Postgraduate Studies, Duasu Mathura, for gracing today's webinar and delivering the opening remark in spite of his busy schedule. Thank you, sir, for your very interesting and thought-provoking address. I am sure that all the participants have taken note of your suggestions and will be discussing it for the action to be initiated at their level. I would like to take this opportunity to place on record our heartily thanks to two important pillar and motivational forces of the VIPM Society, that is Dr. E. Bikane sir, President, and Dr. Ashok sir, General Secretary VIPM, because of whom we are gathered here. Thank you, sir, for your faith on us, and I expect the same in future also. I would like to thank most distinguished speaker, Dr. Rajeshri Shom ma'am, for sparing his valuable time for the webinar and enlightening us with her commendable talk on the most important aspect of brucellosis. Thanks, ma'am, for clearing our concept and enhancing our understanding for the brucellosis, which is a very important disease having genetic potential. Big thanks to Som ma'am for her excellent presentation and making this webinar interesting and meaningful. Next, I would like to thank all the torch bearer of this event, Dr. D.S. Meena, S.K. Rawal sir, our Vice President, Dr. Nilesh Sharma, Dr. Siddiqui, Dr. Manoj Kumar, and Journal Secretaries, Dr. G. Ambika, Dr. Sudhir Mehta, Dr. Ritul Varman, Dr. Ratish, Dr. Sheikh Salahuddin, Dr. Badwa, Yatu, Dr. Raj Kumar, and Dr. Anil Kumar for their keen interest in the organizing this webinar and making this event happen so beautifully. I am very much thankful to the knowledge partner of this webinar, Intas Pharmaceutical, especially Dr. Nitin Bhatia. Without his generous support, it would not be possible to organize this webinar. I am sure that VIPM Society will continue to get this generous support from the Intas Pharmaceutical in future also. Dr. Sudhir Mehta and Dr. Nilesh Sindhu deserve a special mention for his IT support on behalf of VIPM Society and wide publicity of the event at various platforms. Last but not least, we are grateful to all the participants of the webinar for their gracious presence and interactions. Thank you. Jai Hind.